Thank you very much for keeping your dials here on Newsfile. And Newsfile is your most authoritative news analysis show. Now, let's get to business. And my guests are seated. From my right extreme is our regular panelist and editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper, Abdul Malik Kweko. Also by him is Yao Opong. He's a legal practitioner and teaches the law at the Central University here in Accra. Also, to my left, immediately, is Robert Ahonka Lindsay, is policy advisor, New Patriotic Party, and also is Abraham Amalba, member of the NDC legal team. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Newsfile.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Great. So let's start by way of preliminary, an issue that we are going to take a preliminary peek into. Look at why the president, and it doesn't really happen. It rarely happens if it does. The president, sitting president of the republic, throws an invitation to the opposition leader, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-addo, for a debate. You would think that often, and the critics will say that often, this goes to the benefit of the opposition. Nana Addo seems to say, I'm sorry, you are coming too late, or I am just not interested. His vice president says, I have 170 economic questions begging for answers. You have not replied them. Deal with those before we deal with you, if any at all. Well, how does that happen? Yao, I'll start with you. Isn't it curious?
Amazing, yes. Good morning.
Morning.
Well, I think we have to look at it in context.
Yeah.
I mean, if when we have two football teams, maybe two different countries, and you want to engage in friendly match, then one can invite the other, and they will engage in the friendly match. There may not be any trophy at stake or cup at stake. But in a contest like this, when one contestant or candidate throws a challenge to you, especially where he's a president, if care is not taken, people would see it to be an instruction to you for which you must comply, especially where there has been earlier arrangement by quote and unquote, because that's people may not agree, an independent institution that has done it before.
We sincerely don't think those who will not agree, as you said, really have a problem to suggest that the IEA is not independent?
Well, there are two views, two schools of thought. Some, you remember that even in the before the 2012 election, I mean, a similar invitation was thrown or given to the president. Initially, the indication was that the president will not attend.
Okay.
Then subsequently, I think by some other arrangements, the president attended. It is all similar arguments were made then, but then I think assurances were given. And as it turned out, one of the main moderators became the president's own minister, and has since been the cabinet minister to date. So if you don't put it in context, it will look as if one person is running away. Because, of course, I mean, when the president also said he was not going for the IAA one, people also say he was running away. Now the president says that he wants to engage Anado. They give a different instruction. But I'm saying that in a context like this, you don't want to create an impression in the minds of people that you are responding to the instruction of a candidate or another candidate. So I believe perhaps if an independent institution, let's say NCCA, all right, NCCA rather, yeah, were to invite the parties, which I expected them to have done up to now.
You expected who to have done?
The NCC.
The NCC. I understand they are doing something of the sort, but it depends on whether the opposition also can have any trust in the NCC to be independent. Well,
I mean, it's a state institution.
That's right.
And I whatever problems or misgivings they may have, we must trust state institutions.
That's a problem we have, isn't it?
Yes, I haven't heard
NCCE,
openly.
Which is a constitutional body, which is supposed to be independent and which ought to be seen that way.
Yeah.
The politicians have a problem seeing it as independent.
Well, perhaps it's also because of how they have also over the years conducted themselves. But I think that it is an independent institution. They should be the ones to invite the candidates. And it shouldn't be just between President Mahama and Mr. Akufo-addo alone. I mean, at least all those who, in the meantime, have had their application cleared, and they are actually certified to be those who can, in the meantime, stand for presidential election. The invitation should be given to all of them, so that there will be a holistic platform for all. So maybe one of these state institutions invite them. And if any of them says, I'm not going, then for me, then I will endorse if you like, the general view that the person who refuses to go for that invitation by the state institution is rather running away. And not that an individual you are contesting with as if instructing you to come and debate and let us debate.
In 30 seconds, how important is a debate? And at this time?
Well, in this contest, I do not really see the necessity for it. Because if you have your programs, you have advertised, propagated them, then there may not be too much need for it. But I would rather want a platform where the media or the representatives of the various social groups are the ones that will put questions to these contestants.
You want this cabal, which is blocking and distorting the president's message of transformation, to be the one to lead
well,
this
we'll go into that, but I see that to be an interesting political strategy.
Interesting. Now, why is the NPP running away from this? Because anybody will tell you that an opposition should grab this with all hands.
You know, good morning, first of all, and thank you for inviting me. It's my first time on Newsfile. I've watched it a number of times, and it's good to see all these learned gentlemen.
Good to have you too.
I think let me start by saying that the MPP is not running away from it. And I listened to my brother there talking about there is a history to this. And I think this is what is clouded, to a very large extent, this whole debate about a debate. I believe the IEA have been doing this debate since 2000. And they have, I think, built a track record, which
they have institutionalized.
You know, this is what they do, and they have built this around globally accepted and, more importantly, locally accepted. And I remember very well. It was actually quite interesting when this came up. I remember very well when the IEA started that. They were preparing as usual for a debate, and I recollect the whole series of interviews that was going on in the newspapers at that time and radio. Which basically, and I think initially, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the party members of the NDC came to say no. And then somebody said no, they weren't quite sure, and then they came back. Eventually, it was actually confirmed that this is not something the NDC party was interested in, period. So it was dropped. And I think what would have then happened is that people would have made alternative plans, I mean, as they would do. I think you know, when you look at that, people have made a plans of what's going forward, and I think at that time it was clear to all concerned, before it was very quickly rejected, that there would be a debate, and the expectation was that there would be a debate, and in fact there was a lot of discussions about who would be on the debate. Would it be, you know, if everything had gone through, 12, 13, 16 candidates, how would you decide? And I remember at that time there was a little bit of toing and fro about what basis. Would it be purely on the parliamentary seats, or would it be some? So I think what basically happened is that the debate was on, it was stopped by the NDC, and I think if you look at the record, that is very clear. The NPP happily went about their way, which is to market their messages, to talk to people on the ground, and they went forward and put a program together. Now we are 6 weeks away, literally, from the election, and we're asking for a debate. And to be honest with you, you know, a question will always need to be asked. What is the value of a debate at this stage of the process, given now that all the manifestos are out, People are now busy with village-to-village marketing of their product, which is the message to the people of Ghana. And you have to ask yourself if, and at this stage, is that very clear plans that are put in place to make sure we cover every single part of the country. So I think to your earlier suggestion that the MPP is running away, I think that is not a correct reflection of what the MPP thinks. On the contrary, the MPP was very much ready. It was said no to, and they are going about busily their program of electioneering. And I think it's a shame. It's a shame at this stage to bring this forward. And I actually asked myself this question very clearly when I saw the list of potential issues. I asked myself, what would be the benefit, even to the opposition party, to the governing party, of having a debate at this stage? What would have led to such a request? And you have to then ask yourself, maybe it's felt that certain things were not happening the way it's planned. So then plans change.
You think it's late in the day?
Look, I honestly believe that
because
it is
you
very
seem to
late
suggest
in the day.
so.
I
How
think
many
it's late
days
in the
are we
day.
away from the
We are
elections in the US?
Well, remember in the US.
No, it's a question.
The question,
Yes.
they are literally about, I think it's 40-something days.
No.
In terms of
The
where
last
they-
time they had the last time they had
Yeah.
their elections was their campaign.
November 7th.
It was
Is
19 days left.
No, it's November
I'm
7th
saying that
election.
the last time they had
But
their
let me
debate.
give you the difference between what has happened in the US and here. And I think it's very clear. First of all, the demographics and the basis of communication in the US is very different from Ghana.
That's right.
So let's start with that. We still are very much based on direct basis. If you look at the audience of participants in the US debate, you're talking out of the 126 odd million voters, I think the largest they got was 90 million. I'd be interested to see if we got anywhere near that kind of percentage looking. But more importantly, in the US, this was agreed. In fact, it was agreed, but literally after the last election was finished. A plan was put together which clearly stipulated, people then integrated that within their campaigning program, and it then became an integral part of their campaign program,
Right.
which is the fundamental difference.
What do you say
between
to those who ask the question? And my initial, it wasn't a suggestion, it's a question.
Yes.
Because that's what I specialize in doing on this platform.
Which is good.
The question that people are asking, but your candidate, is he really committed to the IEA platform? Because if he were, Dr. Edward Mahama has been on the platform, the Evening Encounters, which is sort of a prelude to all of these things. He's been on it. I think Ivor Greenstreet was there. Nana Konadu, Ajman Rollins, that was a different one. I hosted
Yes,
that one. I moderated that one. Now, Nana Addo's has been postponed, I think, twice or three times. And then later we were told it was completely cancelled.
In terms of where it's going through, look, I think if you look at the participation of the MPP on the IE debate that has happened to 2000, we've been there. So that is the answer to your question. We are committed to it. I think, again, trying to roll back the clock to a time and then saying, what if? When you're 6 weeks away from the election, and I repeat, we have a different infrastructure base here on electioneering, where you have to be on the ground.
Right.
It is an important factor to bear in mind, but I think the MPP is committed to the IEA. It is shown that through its participation. And I think, and I come back to it again, and I think it's important we bear this in mind. This process was ongoing. It had been agreed.
Right.
It's going forward,
Thank
and
you.
it was stopped.
Thank you very much. Now, Abraham, this is the president who told this opposition that you've never been president. You do not have the right to criticize me. What does he expect him to do at the debate?
So that if you have an opposition leader and his running mate going around the country telling the people of this country that the country is in crisis and all indicators point rather differently, it is curious and strange that
The international media, though, is discussing that there is economic crisis in Ghana.
well,
On the
I
BBC
will tell you,
networks and elsewhere, I've seen them.
and we'll come to that. We'll come to that, where the president was talking about media blockade. Let me give you a teaser. The same international media said that Ghana was a hub, a West African hub for the aviation industry. How did you treat that story? How did you, the media? So I'm reserving that as a punch.
Yeah, then when we
for
get
when
to
we get there. But I'm giving you a teaser.
the cabal.
The cabal.
Yeah.
Now, you would expect that an opposition leader who goes about telling the people of this country that the country is in comatose would grab the opportunity, because at that forum, at the platform for the debate, facts and figures will now be speaking to those wild allegations.
First of all, though, do we know which platform the president wants? Because he's not going to IEA unless he changes his mind.
So, Samson, it is clear that Nana Addo ran away with his tails in between his legs because he knows that moving away from the general rhetoric and coming to the specifics, there was no way he could challenge the president on those matters. So he had to do a retreat, and that was very clear.
Yeah, I was asking
his
if you
own
have
performance.
If you have an indication which platform the president is seeking
any credible,
this debate.
any credible platform.
Apart from IEA, is that the case?
Apart from IEA, because we have taken exception to the IEA platform, and we have not hidden our intentions about that.
Okay.
I'm just only surprised that my good friend Opong is making the point that there was one of the moderators who is finally in the cabinet of the president. He fell short of saying that there was also another one
moderator
who is also now contesting on the ticket.
tickets.
So let's make it fair. If you
So
see,
add that.
no, you don't choose and pick what you want to
shouldn't
do.
get surprised.
You know, you should. Well, so
Do you know?
the point
do you know though the little bit you brought? Do you know that whilst Kojo Nkrumah hosted the morning show, there were MPP guys who accused him of being in bed with government?
Look, let me tell you, I have met Kojo face to face,
Right.
and I expressed surprise that he could be an MPP person, but whilst he was in Joy FM, exhibited a high sense of professionalism. I have no doubt about that. I remember Kojo Opong calling people to comment on Nana Akufo-Addo's All Die Be Die, and he wasn't getting anybody. That day I was listening.
Okay.
He called eminent Ghanaians, and he kept pushing and saying that he wants somebody to speak. So I can vouch for Kojo Opong's credibility.
And
I am
professionalism.
I'm from NDC, but I can vouch for it,
Okay.
and I will not mince words.
Okay. But
the
which
point-
platform do you think he's seeking?
No. Ever since this matter came up, I have heard some institutions, I'm sure your own Joy FM have come up with their request. I've also heard, you said NCCE. I've also heard EIB Network.
Okay.
All these people have come together to say that they are ready to give that platform. So if we get a credible platform, but you see, Nana Addo is running because his own performance in the 2012 debate was nothing to write home about. You remember the question that was thrown to him: how do you reduce maternal mortality? And he says, free SHS. So when it comes to the nitty-gritty and to discuss how this economy is performing, I'm sure that is where Nana Akufo-Addo falls short. Hence, he's running away. So I'm not
Have
surprised.
you heard those who say this is strange for you to suggest that he's running away because from a debate? Because look, this is not just a lawyer, but a good one at that, who has advocated in the courts for years. So he lived on doing debates. How can he be running away from a debate? I'm not too sure if the
see?
debates are the same
You
though.
see, the structure of the court system and the way you debate there is different from having a debate in the sense of radio and what we are doing here.
Okay.
Time without number. Judges have indicated to those of us who sit on radio and to say, tell us that this is not a radio debate. The structure is different. During the election petition, you heard Justice Atuba tell some of those who appeared for contempt that don't think that this is your radio debate platform. So the structure is different. But again, Nana Akufo-Addo lacks the ability to grasp the workings of this economy. And that is where the president is a notch, if not two, higher than Nana Akufo-Addo.
You think that's what he's
So
running
that's
away
why
from?
he's running away
I
from.
see.
And I'm surprised people are talking about timing. We have indicated that we want to strive to be like the Western democracies. You talk about when it sues them, they say America. Look at what is happening in US. Look at what is happening in UK.
But your suggestion though is
but
that
you talk about, you say that no, the dynamics are different, the audiences are different. Aren't we striving to get there?
It's a journey.
Wouldn't it be the first step? Can't this debate be the first journey? The
the
first step?
suggestion by his spokesperson, Mustafa Hamid, is that Nana Addo is not ready to debate a flip-flop president. You ought to be decisive. Not today, I'm not debating. The next day, I'm ready for debate. Today, you are not qualified to criticize me. The next day, come and debate me because Ghanaians deserve a debate.
The president is the only sitting president who has availed himself to a debate. The president is the one who called. This is the second time he's calling for a debate with Nana Akufo-addo.
You want to say he's the only president, sitting president, who has called for a debate, not availed himself for a debate? Called for a debate.
No, which one are you talking about that there was a president who sat, a sitting president? Kufuor didn't go. When he was opposition, he went.
Okay.
When he became, he didn't go. Professor Mills was not going until John Mahama took over as president and then went. So he's the only one.
So you are talking about the previous
so
election.
This is not a person who would run away from a debate. We had already made clear our intentions of the platform, that platform was not fair.
Okay.
But
okay,
he has consistently called for a debate, and this is the second time he has done so.
All right, thank you. Now let's hear from Kweku Abdul Malik.
My brother, the president's call for a one-to-one debate with Nana Addo, which I think is the second time I've heard him make
That is so.
call, was dead on arrival. Completely dead on arrival. And there are reasons why I say so. See, we have to look at the circumstances, the sequence of events, and the timing. But before then, there's one critical issue that has been agitating my mind. One-to-one debate. IEA, and I'll come to the broader issue relative to IEA in terms of the two parties' own conduct and actions in recent times. But people have forgotten that the IEA actually outlined 3 levels of its encounters with presidential candidates for election 2016. There was to be 2 presidential debates as well as the evening encounters. But then they went further to say that based on some research that they had conducted, that they had realized that there was an overwhelming public concern, enthusiasm for a one-to-one debate between the 2 leading candidates, Nana Akufo-addo and President Mahama. I don't know if you recall that as one of the formats that they were putting forward for the first time.
Right.
In addition to the ones that we already knew. The NDC protested. And I would want to read, Asiedu Kutia said this. It says, it is a public show of disrespect to engage only the National Democratic Congress, NDC, and the New Patriotic Party alone in the debates in the first place, excluding other political parties. This is the General Secretary of the NDC reacting to the new idea floated by the IEA that in addition to its previous format, it will include this time around a one-to-one debate between the 2 leading candidates, because that's what its research had shown that people wanted. In principle, and that is for the NDC, they thought that was a public show of disrespect to the other contending parties. He went on, this is Asiedu Nketia. Civil society organizations, including other political parties, came out to challenge the basis upon which they were selecting NPP and NDC alone for the debate. And we felt that in solidarity with the other political parties, we should call IEA to go back to the drawing board and do what is right. But before they do that, they must issue a public apology and tell Ghanaians and the political parties that they did the wrong thing and that they ought not to be challenging us and defending a decision they have taken without informing us. So really, casting iron, as far as the NDC was concerned, it would be inappropriate to hold a one-to-one debate between the two leading candidates because it was discriminatory. What has changed? That now the leader of the NDC, our president, will be calling for a one-to-one. The other political parties are dead and gone. Are they still around? Even if you took the disqualification thing, and of course that's the subject to court thing, we have two others on the ticket. Are they insignificant? Would that not be discriminatory? Where is the principle? Where is the consistency? Where is the conviction? But I hear the president make a certain case that, oh, why he wants the one-to-one is because certain untruths have been peddled by its main opponent.
Right.
So the debate is going to be about a select few items based on what truth you told and what lie you didn't tell, focused on that between the two giants.
No, I thought that was just an example about the economic matters, because there cannot be a debate without the reference to the economy.
But that is the point. Then get my drift.
I don't think that he limited it to a debate on the economy.
Something you are not getting my drift. Because otherwise it's true. A debate must be on all the issues. But he has singled out the motivation. He's telling you why he is seriously looking for the debate. I'm not saying he's excluded them, but he's telling you, because I'm trying to help them in a way, but that in principle, they said no, in absolute terms, to one-to-one. So I was asking myself, what is it that might have occurred along the way? And the answer we get, at least on the surface, is what he is saying. That the other gentleman, has been lying, peddling obvious untruths about the state of the economy and the public debt and things. And that debate, if it comes, the one-to-one he is calling for, will offer an opportunity for him to cure that mischief. As if that mischief cannot be cured elsewhere and independently of a debate. Let's be honest. So that's why I brought it in.
Could you want the debate?
Ideally, yes. But as I told you, circumstances, sequence of events have made it completely a useless exercise at this time. Which platform are you going to use?
So you don't want it?
No. I think you should listen to me carefully.
I'm talking from this time
Now
on.
I'm coming. No, it's waste of time now. It cannot be done. That's why I said dead on arrival. Ideally, some of us have supported this IEA debate from day one. From day one. And when Mr. Akufo didn't go, we criticized him on this program. You can go back for the tapes. I've gone back, I've watched mine, I've seen the transcripts. Mr. Akufo gave similar reasons that Professor Mills gave earlier. Vice President Mills told us he had an engagement in Abuja, he had busy, he couldn't make it, and so didn't come. When it came to 2004, President Akufo also, through a statement by Jake, a copy of which I have here, also referred to a meeting he was going to Abuja. For the same thing. 2008, then we had former Vice President Mills, candidate Mills, with Nana Akufo-addo.
Meanwhile, the dates are taken at their pleasure.
Yes. Okay. Then come 2012, Professor Mills said, oh, that's been already established a convention. Presidents and sitting vice president don't do it. So I'm not going. I'm following the convention. Unfortunately, the unexpected happened, a tragedy that befell the nation. He went, President Mahama took over, and he set a precedent. And damn God, we're all so happy that the President Mahama, had actually curtailed that whole thing and had become the first sitting president to take part in the thing. I was hoping he would continue. But he didn't. No, let me finish. Let me finish, please. I'm very, very concerned about this thing. And I'm going to disappoint some of my friends in the NPP today. Look, I am so disappointed that the NPP and Nana Akufo-addo did not get onto the IEA platform. It's not going to happen. It's too late again. It's not going to happen. My own check shows that it's not going to happen. I do not think the NPP showed enough commitment. They gave all sorts of reasons about we are waiting to do with our manifesto before we come on board 2 or 3 times. There is no formal letter from the NPP today to the IEA as to the reason why they would not appear on the IEA platform, or its candidate, let me put it more precisely, would not appear on that thing. I think it's a disappointment. It won't happen now because it's too late. The way the campaign tender sequence is going, it's too late. That is why I'm firm in my mind that they decided not to participate in it.
So there would have been a debate with or without the president.
Yes, yes. That year was
But
obviously
for the NPP's behavior.
yes. So the encounter, they didn't go. The debate, obviously, is too late in the day. It won't happen. So that is a disappointment I have to express publicly. I think it takes something away from the tradition that the NPP had established since 2000 by its consistent participation in that forum. No rationalization will satisfy me on this particular matter. They are seeking, both sides, if we are not careful, are seeking to undermine the integrity of the IEA forum, inadvertently or advertently. Put together, they are both, by their conduct and action, are seeking to undermine the integrity and the credibility that have been established over the period relative to IEA forum.
Okay. Well, Kweku Bako, there. If you have 30 seconds to want to say anything before I move on to dispense with this issue, then we move on.
Well, the only thing I wanted just to mention, following my brother's comment here, is that he made two comments which I felt. First of all, to say that the IEA has built a reputation, and it's up to all of us to support it 100%. And it's also good that it's one of our own institutions that is doing this. So I think let us just accept it as a country and make sure we do that. But there are two that I wanted to bring forward. The first point he said is that if we get a platform, then we decide where to debate. These things are not something that you just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to do. And I give the example of the US that he has. There's a whole commission that sits down.
You suspect the president doesn't even mean it?
I am not. My question is why at this stage, and not if it's because the messages is not getting through, and suddenly you think I need a different medium.
Because the cabal is blocking.
Because this is my sense for it. The other point I wanted just to say is about we want to emulate the US system. We want to emulate. Yes, we do want to emulate.
Right.
But that's why we are developing and they're developed.
Okay.
We have a vision of where we want to go to, but it's a journey.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
No, I don't think that I want to say anything. Just to tell them that what is clear is that there has been some consistency coming from the president. He has made this twice. It was not as if to say that the debate will be limited to economic issues only.
Right.
But what has occasioned the second call is, so what has changed is what I'm trying to tell you now. That consistently you have an opposition leader who goes about running down this economy and saying that the economy is not doing well. Why don't we subject his allegations to proof?
So you are reinforcing the perception.
Let's
now let's do this.